Good evening, everyone. We're back in for another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds. How's everyone do this evening?
What is up?
Pretty good.
What is
We
up,
got
man? It's
we got
super
lightning
excited,
outside. What more could we?
Oh yeah, yeah. Lightning outside, kids crying as if they're going to have tornadoes coming through the house. Oh yeah, every life is good.
We're close to
That's
electronics.
right.
We might as well get electrocuted.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Is that what can happen to you when
Fun
you're on the
night.
internet? Is it like
Exactly.
taking a shower?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you should go
Remember,
take a
remember that? Yeah.
I feel like that's the sort of thing in the 90s that like parents would have been telling us. Like, oh, if you're on the internet when that thing strikes, you're just going to be sorry.
If you're not sorry now, you're gonna be
Yeah.
sorry.
This is going to be a weird
Right.
episode.
It will be. It'll be.
I love it.
That's what you get when you get a bunch of nerds. But yeah, super excited to get in episode 4 of Kenobi like everybody else is. But before we dive into this with our teeth, as Ken just said, let's let our guy DP let you know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com. People, make sure that you are going to that site and you will see all your favorite social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram. We are at Nerdcyclopedia. So make sure that you follow us, so we could, give you some feedback and all that stuff. If you are watching us right here on YouTube, make sure that you are hitting that notification button and also hitting that subscribe button. So anytime that we are on, you know that we're on. If you are following us on Facebook, we have a Facebook group. It's called Carbonite Bounty BS, a Star Wars group where we get your favorite memes, get your favorite Star Wars content, and we post stuff up there, all the time and everything. So get feedback. Tom Hastings, he's always dedicated with the good stuff on there. So shout out to him. So make sure that you're following us and giving us like your input on what you think about the latest Star Wars stuff. Also make sure that you are if you are listening to us on your phone, your smartphone or on radio and everything, you're following us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, iTunes, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. Spotify, and also Nerdcyclopedia. It's nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. Make sure that you are leaving us some feedback, so that you get so we can give you some feedback as well. Make sure that we are talking about The Boys this season. Okay, season 3 of The Boys just came out. So that fantastic, crazy first 3 episodes just banged and just tore people up and everything. Make sure that you are listening to us because we talk about it, and we'll be back, next week to talk about like the 4th episode coming up this Friday. We'll be back on Monday to talk about that episode and everything. So make sure that you guys check out this channel, Nerds Talking About The Boys.
On well said. Well said.
Good job.
There we are.
Thank you.
The joys of live TV, ladies and gentlemen. But
better every week.
Yeah,
it's better.
It does. It gets better every week. We're going to have to come up with a script, Russ. I'm sure the listeners are like, it's different every time I hear him. Like,
you get the chirons I make, and that's it. That's right.
But yeah, guys, it was a pretty good episode. A little short for me. I know I saw it and I was a little disappointed, but it got to the point. It got a lot of interesting stuff we'll get into. Yeah, my first initial reactions were kind of shocked. This whole episode also, if you guys haven't played the game, was literally that Jedi Fallen Order. It was the game to the T. Yeah. So really, really cool that they did that tie-in. There were a lot of scene tie-ins if you played the game that was directly related. So the content was really good. A couple controversial points I'll get into a little bit on my hit soapbox, but and I'm sure he'll tie this in. But yeah, really excited to talk about it. What about you, Ben?
Thank you. So, two things I just want to mention, just to put it out there. One, stormtroopers drowning. Thought that was a little weird. They are able to stay alive in space for upwards of maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I'm thinking water shouldn't be a problem. I'll just put it out there. Give me some technology feedback on that. I looked. Their suits can repel pollutants. They're able to go into extremely hazardous environments with no problem and survive in space. There are a few mods that are available for the Stormtrooper helmet concept. And I would think if you're going to station a Stormtrooper on a moon, a water moon, you would have the correct mods installed on the uniform so that they could survive a dip in the tank. All right. Anyway, that one, plus angry Vader. That was about as pissed as I've ever seen Vader. Like storming down that hallway, full animated anger. I think we're getting, not only are we getting a great story with Kenobi and like what he did and how he sort of fell from being general and how he kind of went, he went in hiding and he came back. And I mean, we're getting that, but we're also getting this great angle on Vader too. So it's really like a Kenobi / Vader series because I'm seeing a lot of personality development. I really loved the situation with Leia trapped. Also liked all the callbacks they did to Kenobi lurking around on the Death Star with the comlink and misdirecting stormtroopers and learning how to do that again, right? So he's learning, and one thing it called out to me. So I got a parallel here. I'm watching Stranger Things. I don't know if any nerds out there are watching it, but
oh yeah.
So 11 has to have a dream to bring back her power. Mm-hmm. So Kenobi has to have a dream or some sort of a memory to start to bring back his power. And I think he had it with the connection with, Anakin in the bacta tank. Now they're both in the bacta tank and they're sort of communing that way. And he's starting to get things back. He's starting to get his force pull. He's starting to get his wielding the lightsaber a little more effective. So it's like a kind of a transition. I felt a sort of a nice handshake between Stranger Things and the Star Wars universe because it's like all nerd anyway. But I kind of felt like that's what we saw in this episode was General Kenobi becoming General Kenobi again, getting that power back. Great episode, a little short, but whatever. They can give me whatever they want. They want to do 38 minutes. If they want to do 47 minutes, if they want to do 52 minutes, that's cool. As long as it's concise and has a story. And I thought this one was great. I thought this episode really touched on a lot of cool stuff. As a fanboy, I saw, like different things. Like I said, Kenobi kind of lurking around on the Death Star, turning off the tractor beam. I saw the same thing when he was looking for Leia. So a lot of neat little call outs and connections. And again, stormtroopers drowning. Come on. What are we doing here? They got to be able to survive a little bit of water.
Right.
Just saying.
What about you, Hitch?
Yeah, so for me, the crux of this is I really liked seeing Leia's strong ability to resist the mind probe in action. Again, this show is the A+ at explaining all the force powers that aren't like push you around, lift something up, the really obvious ones, right? I love how they portray this struggle between Reva and Leia as having some physical heft to it, right? And this kid's stronger than she should be, but Leia can't hide it, right? She can't. It's not effortless for her to resist. She has to like relax, visibly relax. I am struck by this Jedi action figure collection that the Empire is amassing here, and I'm terrified of what they're going to do with it, because it doesn't seem to serve a purpose. The bodies of all these frozen Jedi. So for me, I'm interested in this because it's not something I'm familiar with. So it's one of those.
We can get into that. I'll explain it to you.
Hooray!
I had to do some research.
I've been having. This has been a week. And if you watch our shows, you know this because you would have seen our NCFS show on The Boys. A lot of WTF moments on TV for me lately. A lot of them, and that was a WTF moment when they looked like they had their pictures taken or something. It was crazy. Right. So that was for me the thing that's really sticking in my mind. I think that it's messed up to mess with Lola, man. Like taking away Leia's number one companion. I didn't quite care for that. And why is it that security goons are always so easily manipulated? You just lean on them a little bit and they just like cave at the slightest little tiniest little bit of authority. I always think that's funny when they do it, because I feel like that actually happens in the real world. That's how people sneak into the Super Bowl. Oh, you don't know who I am? I'm going in there. I think you can ask some people. Like That seems to be what happens all the time. So I like this episode a lot. I did think that the one thing about having that big lightsaber fight between Vader and Obi-Wan last week is that what are you going to do after that? It's like,
Right.
it's hard to top that. And so from a structural standpoint, while we are super excited to have had that early because it was a surprise, I did feel a little bit like this episode was sort of like it didn't have that. So if I felt a little bit of a drop down from last episode because of that, but it's not like a negative thing. It's just a difference in the pace, I guess.
Right. What about you, DP?
Okay, so I wasn't feeling the episode as much. Probably mainly because it really didn't move the plot that much. It was shorter than like the previous episode, so it's sort of like it got in there and got out. Which could be fine to a degree, but I think with the heft of Obi-Wan, you want more, So when you're on, so when you're anticipating like these episodes from week to week, you want like a little more. Now, what Hitch was saying about the tomb reveal and everything, that was like super interesting, and I hope they definitely get more into that, and how that's revealed in like the next few episodes and everything. But other than that, I did like the lightsaber scene with him getting the two guards and stuff. Anytime you get that scene and like a real dark presence, and then the lightsaber comes on, you hear that zoom, and then him slicing and dicing and everything. That's always a fun thing. Just seeing like a good lightsaber fight is always fun. But generally the episode, I don't know if I'm really feeling Reva like that. As far as her villainy and her badassness and everything, if you want to call it that. I'm feeling that, for her to be an Inquisitor, she's a little on the soft side if all she's really thinking about is what happened to her, like to get all this anger up, for her to go on that route. So if she was going to be like that, why does she necessarily need to be an Inquisitor to do that? To go on and live, to go on those. To me, the Inquisitors are like more the evil type of thing, and she's just doing bad things, but is she necessarily evil? To serve Darth Vader and to potentially be the Grand Inquisitor. I don't know if that's necessarily what she wants, but I don't know if I'm necessarily feeling that arc. We'll see how it plays out in like the last few episodes, but I don't know. I'm on the fence with her. Obi-Wan, of course, he's fine and everything. But like I said, the episode plot didn't really push along that much, so it was just an okay episode for me.
Yeah, and I echo everybody's thoughts. I mean, it was kind of like I said, I liked it. There's a lot of interesting things. But yeah, let's dive right into it. So the first thing we'll discuss, obviously, is the Jedi tomb scene that everybody was kind of shocked about. I was as well. So there's two thoughts to that Jedi tomb scene. The first is they're all dead. They're not frozen in carbonite. So they all are dead. That's why you saw the child from Order 66 in there as well. There are a couple Jedi Masters in there. So the idea of that is Kenobi didn't feel the Jedi because he was turned off in the Force, but that's a trap. So essentially, it's a weapon. When a Jedi dies, the Force, and this is canon, as long as they freeze them like that, and they're not fully dead. The body, they still emit the Force. So essentially, it's like a beacon. So the fact that they have all those Jedi's in there, it's a beacon for other Jedi's to sense them. And once they get there, they all die because it's Inquisitor base. So it's kind of suicide if you're on a moon of Mustafar anyways. Like if you're in Vader's system and you go there, it's already a suicide mission in itself. So the fact that like you would trick a Jedi even going there to sense to save other Jedi is kind of stupid. But yeah, that's one of the reasons. And the second reason is it's kind of as they alluded to, it's more of a trophy room for Vader because literally these are people that he's hacked down, they've really kidnapped. So it's more of a thing for Vader, not really the Inquisitors.
But none of them really looked dead to me.
No.
They didn't look like they had been in a fight. The youngling looked scared, frightened. The woman, there were two women, almost they had a Native American
right. Yeah.
on. They didn't look dead. They looked frightened. They looked like they were.
I thought they were first in the carbonite as far like
or amber.
I thought it was
amber. They were like Jurassic Park, like amber entombed.
I thought the same thing, man. Absolutely.
I didn't get that feeling that they were actually dead because none of them were like battle wounded or sliced, and I don't know. That was it. I watched it a couple times. I didn't.
I mean,
I did like to see the lightsabers in the tomb room in the Quizzer room. Did you see other lightsabers along the wall?
Oh, in the truck, like the Reva's office.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
There was all those Jedi's lightsabers laid out like for display.
It's just Vader's
so if a Jedi loses his or her weapon, then we assume that they've been just killed, right? But maybe not necessarily.
No. This weapon is your life, Anakin.
Yeah, but I mean, Grievous had many weapons. He didn't necessarily say he killed all the Jedi to get those weapons. I mean, he had Anakin's and Obi-Wan's for a while, but he didn't kill them.
He was a thief.
He was a thief. He was a thief. Yeah, he was a robot thief, general with asthma thief that stole Jedi weapons, but didn't necessarily have to kill them. But I mean, Obi-Wan said it was a tomb. You said it's a tomb, T. Mitch. So that means they're dead, but didn't look like they were dead to me.
Oh yeah, because I thought it was a tomb after I watched it a second time. If he didn't try to like resuscitate him or have her turn off of any of those, because I was thinking like he tried to bust one open or have her like turn off whatever was keeping him there, then I was like, oh yeah, it's more like a trophy room or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, he was there on a mission. He's there to pick, get Leia. So all this is just like a big distraction. A welcome distraction, I guess, on his end, because it's a revelation, but he's still there to get Leia.
Yeah, but she's in the control room. All she has to do is hit one button, drop them all out. You got what, 20 Jedis to help you out?
That would be a heck of a distraction. Is 100 Jedi all of a sudden right up your ass? Like all of a sudden, like that can't. Like that wouldn't be easy. We've watched Jedi plow through hundreds and thousands of clone troopers, and like the idea that there would be any, it'd be terrible. So I feel like
20 plus Jedi right up your ass. What would the Empire call that? Foobar. Yeah, that's what they call it. All those.
I would say you have no idea the power of this Jedi.
Oh, right up your Imperial ass.
Right up.
Oh man. But yeah, and then on another point, as DP said, and I told you guys, when I read the kind of spoiler notes before the show started, the Reva character was something that really, really scared me, because I mean, we have 2 episodes left. I mean, we've got some decent dialogue between Anakin and really Kenobi, but she's really front and center of this show. Great actress, but it's just like I just don't know what they're thinking with this, because really, and this is my controversial point, the way they painted the Jedi in this show and her, it's very similar to all these Olympic organizations treat how these children, as we see in not just other countries but even our own. These kids are taken from their families at a young age. They're putting into training a la Jedi academies and whatnot, and they are literally just separated. There's no childhood. There's nothing. You become a soldier or an elite athlete. And as you see her, this is kind of the mental side that can happen and usually does happen to half of these people who don't make the Olympic roster. I mean, what about the ones who fall through the cracks? We never hear the stories about them, right? Yeah. So it's kind of, it paints the Jedi in a really, really negative outlook. And it's kind of cool to see that, because we see the Sith as this evil, all bearing, even the Empire. And this really puts the Jedi Order in a super negative light. So kind of like how Filoni has made Star Wars a little darker to this aspect, as far as how the council, at least the Coruscant Council, was viewed. I mean, when I heard that, even Kenobi saying, he had a brother and he doesn't know what happened, like, really lets you see, like, wow, these guys are supposed to be defenders of the galaxy, but to what extent and what means were you getting these children? And I know we talked about, pulling them because of not being able to control their powers. We've seen that on all nerds things, whether it's X-Men, whether it's this or that. But like hearing her story and whatnot, it's a little, it's sad to some extent how
it's traumatizing. I mean, I could sympathize with her story. I don't know if the actress, to me, is playing it as well as what she could be, as far as
Right.
the character is concerned.
Mhm.
But
I feel like
I understand the deepness of the story.
if she's going to enjoy the bad stuff she's doing, we need to know a little bit more about why she's enjoying it. And I think it was a
Right.
mistake not to be obvious about what was going on in that first scene that happens at the Jedi Temple. I need more why, because she's really having a good time torturing this little girl. And I just like, why? That's the thing that's confusing about it, right? It's not that she enjoys doing Vader's bidding. It's that she's relishing the evil, and we're not. And like, there's no question whatsoever about, is there any redeeming quality to that enjoyment, right?
Right.
Because we're seeing her like it.
And how bad was it? Like, was there a situation where in the Jedi Temple, that scene, that flashback that we saw, where she saw Kenobi have a chance to save her or someone she cared about?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no tie-in to her and Kenobi whatsoever.
No sense of Wadak, no context of the obsession.
So why does she? Yeah, right. Well, why is the anger so focused on him when? I mean, there could be a multitude of other missions that she could be focused on that might keep her out of trouble, because Vader's obviously at the end of his rope with her. I mean, he gave her one last chance because she said she put a tracker on and she turned the little droid into a evil, it turned from blue to red.
Slightly more evil.
Right. Slightly more evil. Yeah. So why would Vader, being the super evil power that he is, that we're seeing, he's coming into his own, he's flying down the corridor, he's twisting necks, he's choking, he's slicing people. Why would he? Oh, you put a tracker on the ship. Oh, that's original. Like, no one's ever done that shit before, right? And okay, it works 50% of the way, but then you never get the job done. Just because you know where they are doesn't mean you're going to get them.
Right.
Okay, so there's a tracker. Fine. Vader using the Force is a tracker too.
Yeah.
But he is having a hard time with this whole Leia thing, and that's my daughter, but I don't know, and blah, blah, blah. And here's Reva torturing Vader's daughter. She doesn't know either. So is Leia actually more than we think? Like, is she able to cloak herself even more than we know? Because wouldn't they sense the...
That's it, yeah. And that brings a whole new point that you bring in when they brought this like Force bond that they did in the sequel trilogy to now. So Kenobi and Anakin have it. He would have to sense this with his children. Like, it's whatever it's midichlorians, whatever you would still, it's your children.
So she's so young, and are we supposed to just look at her and see like her precociousness, her intuitiveness, and think that, okay, it's the Force. She has to have the Force just because we know it's a family type thing.
I think
I think Reva would know because she tried to probe her brain. Like, that's a weird.
That's a plot.
She's
no.
And even me, as a simple-minded human, if I look out at a whole group of children in a swimming pool, I can find my kids. I can find if my kids are in danger. I can see them out of all the screaming idiots out there. So
you have that connection, though.
You don't have a helmet on your head that's obstructing your vision.
How do you know? I'm
not there.
You've met your kids before, right?
Sometime, but I mean, I'm just saying that connection between. I mean, if there's like 30 kids out there, all up and down in the water. I mean, it's hard to kind of see. I'm just saying, I can see where my kids are. I think Vader has to know something. So we're still not getting the whole picture here.
Yeah. My theory is that while she does have the Force, she's just not at. It's like having superpowers. You're just not at that point yet. She's so young, and it's just so the midichlorians are so low that he can't really detect anything right now. And it sort of like makes sense because later down the line, we see how he is with her. It just makes more sense to me that he would not connect anything with her at this point. Because that's just where the story.
Maybe more so with Luke. Maybe more
Yeah.
so with Luke, because
Right.
maybe Luke is a little bit more further along.
Yeah.
You know, as much as Owen Lars is like trying to keep Luke sheltered from the whole thing, maybe he's like missing different things and letting Luke go to see starships. But then Leia can identify any starship that you throw at her.
Yeah,
Anything.
and the interesting point though as well, DP,
She's a
is he's
girl. She's
saying,
smarter.
yeah, she's smarter, right? So Anakin flew was been flying pods since he was 6 or 7. So the whole age thing is, I don't find that. I think it's a plot hole because when Reva probed her brain, you can't say she's too young. She literally couldn't get information because no matter
Right.
how old you are, if she probes your brain, she can get anything out of it. The
And
fact that she couldn't
she
find
couldn't
it,
get anything. And she was
I
even
was
like,
just,
"You're strong. You're strong."
yeah. And then for her to, it was just, I think it was a plot hole there. It's just a little
So,
win, and that's being nitpicky, but it was one of those things with her character so important to this show.
Mhm.
I just think it was an error right there.
so we know Leia doesn't just go back to Alderaan here and stay. But the thing is, if you think someone's dead for 10 years, right, and then you saw their kid, that's essentially what this is. You could maybe say that what Anakin should realize is that Leia is like Padme. There should be a connection. There should be a similarity there that he should comment on. Now, whether or not he realizes that they're direct genetic progeny is a different question. And I think we could say the same thing about well, let's just use them. Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, or Carrie Fisher and Billy Lord. Like, you can look at the
Right.
resemblance because you're looking at them at the same time, right? You can see it, but with no reference points and no reference points saying nobody saying this is this person's daughter. It might not be as easy
Right.
because resemblance doesn't always work exactly. It doesn't always transmit one to one. And even if it did, he already knows where she's from and why she is special, because everybody knows that this adopted daughter of Bail Organa has been special for the whole time, all the way on Alderaan, where everybody's looking at her. So if I were the grand Jedi conspiracist and I thought that Padme didn't die before she had my one baby, I wouldn't look for that one baby on Alderaan. That's not where I'd be looking for her, especially when she's going to be in government. I mean, she's an imperial senator. That's in the government.
You'd think she would be hidden too, like her brother, right? So no one would know yet until the right time, which I think was from the very beginning Yoda's idea. Yoda's his thought process was to leave the girl open, send her away, but let her be publicly visible, hide the boy, because he knew there was something more to the boy. There's always the male. The male is more, always assumed to be a stronger force. Not necessarily, though. Not in this new world that we've got, though. So there's a lot of different things. I think they're trying to connect them. They're trying to bring everything in balance now, and sort of bring Leia more, into the focus, because we already know Luke is the one. Luke is the chosen one that's going to bring his father back and end this imbalance to the Force. But where does Leia fit in, and how does she? So that's going to be a really important story. We have to have Organa. We have to have the series Organa to develop this.
And I want to see it.
Yeah, it's got to happen.
They've done enough here to make me watch that series. It's done. I want to see it. I want to see these. I want to see the adventures of a weirdly precocious Leia. Like, I buy this character and this actress as that type of precocious politician more so than I bought Natalie Portman when she was 15.
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
As Center Queen of Naboo. Yeah, totally. When she was
I like this performance. And Natalie Portman is obviously an extremely talented actress. That's not to say anything anything negative about the performance in Phantom Menace. It's just to say that what we're seeing here is a very vivid, three-dimensional sort of portrayal of Leia, and she's always portrayed as having that stubborn will, right? She took control of her own rescue in Star Wars. Like, that's
so you get the personality of Anakin Skywalker, not the prequel Anakin Skywalker. I'm talking about the Clone Wars Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah.
with with the Padme, Natalie Portman Padme. This is what you have, this Leia right here.
Yep. A little bit of both, because we don't even know where her strengths are. We know she's argumentative. We know she's defiant. She's not scared. She's not scared one bit. She's in this torture chair, and what's she doing? She's still calling out for help, but she's still asking questions. She's trying to engage her inquisitor. That's how you win in these situations. All the psychologists say this is, if you're in a situation where someone has you kidnapped or tied up or you're being tortured, the most important thing you do is engage them.
Right.
Put them on your level. Keep talking to them. Keep treating them as an equal. Don't let them have the upper hand. And what did she do through that whole scene? That's what she did. She brought her inquisitor down to her level, made them equal in that room. So it wasn't like she was the one in the torture rack. They were just having a conversation, because she kept saying, "What are you doing to me? Why are you doing this?" Right. Asking questions to get a response from her.
Or maybe not, because that's a tactic employed by Vader in Empire Strikes Back. The point is the torture. The point isn't to ask any questions. It's to cause the pain and draw, Obi Wan out.
Right, and that's another weakness, I think, as you said, is the Inquisitors aren't Sith. They're that kind of like
in between.
Yeah,
they're like, if they're text, like, the Emperor is giving Vader a little bit. He's carving off like some of that secret knowledge for Vader. But the Inquisitors are just like hired guns, right? They're not like, there's no religious end to what the Inquisitors are doing with the Force. It's just like, we do what we're told or else we'll die, right? Like it's very transactional.
I mean, there's only one or two different ways this can head. So the Inquisitors can be basically Sith trialists, because we all know, I don't know if they'll canon this, but obviously Vader would have to have an apprentice at some point. Will they have a Vader series and keep Rev on, or we'll see what happens with the last two, maybe in the season 2, but will he take on? Because in the EU he does have apprentices. He's been through a bunch of them, so I don't know if they'll take it that way, or I mean, we have 2 episodes. I don't see 3 Inquisitors dying in 2 episodes.
I'll bet you he ends her.
I told you, I think he'll kill her.
Yeah, I'll bet he does. I think you're right.
Vader will kill Reva.
Yeah, I think he's going to end her, because she's fallen short too many times. She's come back with different things, and she's not controllable. Like,
I don't know. The way it seemed like they're heading is that it's going to be a showdown between her and Obi-Wan. And Obi-Wan's going to come to the point. Obi-Wan is going to come to the point where he can possibly kill her, or she may get wounded or something, where she may reveal this thing about, okay, well, you did this and blah blah blah.
Yeah, before he kills her, I want to know that. I want to know, like, what.
I don't think he works. I don't think
it's sort of like redemption thing. Okay, the only reason I'm in this situation is because of what you did, back then or whatever, which we actually, don't know.
I don't think we'll get to that. I think Vader will kill her, like you said. She might get wounded, and Vader will end it before she gets to like reveal anything. I think it'll be like one of those.
So what will be the point of that, though? For us to have a showdown between him and Vader at the end of this?
There's a second fight for sure.
I mean,
it's not over. That's a second fight for sure. For sure, there's a second battle.
So we're gonna see 2 red sabers.
Ooh,
no,
there's red sabers. Yes.
Yeah, there's another fight coming for sure. Spoiler alert. There's another battle coming before we're done.
But is the end game with Reva or with Vader?
Vader.
Or
it'll be Vader. Vader and Obi-Wan ain't done yet. Come on, man.
So is that the guy, the second brother, fifth brother? What is he? The one that really hates her?
Yeah, that's
he really hates this chick.
The sixth brother? I forget.
He was either the second or the fifth. I think maybe the fifth.
He's a fifth.
Every time one of them dies, Vader just goes.
He's going to take that round lightsaber off his back and just cut her head right off.
Just spin it up, yeah. Turn it on.
These guys don't get along.
What's up with the other one? She's just there, right?
She doesn't. She sent the probe droids.
Oh yeah, she pressed a button.
Yeah, she pressed the button.
She presses buttons.
She does. She actually executes the commands. Everyone else is like posturing, she's actually doing the work. So
she hates everybody else. Hates them. Reva's like, release the drones, and she's like, that's gonna take hours. And she's like, oh yeah, I gotta go see Lord Vader.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah, the brother's like, yeah,
are
I
we
gotta.
thinking the Grand Inquisitor is not coming back? We think he's really dead.
I don't.
yeah, he's
no.
not in the credits anymore. So
I don't think he's gone. I think he's still alive. I think
he's
they'll-
in the tomb now. He's in the tomb.
I think
from Billy Madison.
there'll be a big reveal. I don't think he's dead either.
You don't think he's dead?
Just to get stabbed in the stomach, I think that'd be a super cop out. I mean, these like 6 Sith dark side users, they take severe damage. I don't know.
Got cut in half.
I mean, plus he shows
yeah.
up in was it Rebels or Clone Wars? One of those. He shows up in one of those.
That's another Grand Inquisitor. Like that, that's a different Inquisitor. Similar species, but a different Inquisitor. Yeah.
Huh.
For killing
Different facial
all
markings,
the
different
Jedi,
tattoos.
all the Jedi are dead except for all these Jedi. I mean, like how many? Eventually, they'll run out. It should be a pretty short bench here, but it feels like as long as they can make more episodes of the series, they're gonna keep finding more Jedi.
Oh yeah, pretty much.
The galaxy, 100 billion planets, they'll never run out. Thank God.
Well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it has to be like a few of them. Like, you have like a whole temple training and everything, and it has to be like a bunch of them. I mean,
I mean, there are other orders, as they say,
at one point, but yeah, I mean, story wise, it makes a lot of sense, and plus, it gives you a lot of, like you said, a lot of room to work with, story wise, by having all these Jedi.
I love it. I love it. It's like 2022, and I'm just like, when the Emperor said he killed all the Jedi, was the Emperor maybe lying?
Do bad people lie on occasion? Does that happen?
Yeah, and,
I don't know.
So you present this thing. So you're the Emperor. You got to project like you did the deed. You got to project that to like the empire that you took over or whatever. But in reality, that's not the case.
Yeah, we killed all the Jedi. A lot of lightsaber sounds going on.
I mean, the people got to believe you. You're the Emperor and everything. But in reality, no. So that, I mean, hence that's why you have Darth Vader slicing and dicing, trying to track down all these leftover Jedi to prop up what the Empire says. The Emperor, Palpatine says or whatever.
Cleaning up the trash.
Yeah, cleaning up the trash and everything.
It's such a crappy job getting them all first.
Yes.
The Emperor is like putting it on Vader, like, well, if you hadn't let them all escape, we wouldn't be in position. And then he like makes Vader have to do all this stuff.
Does everybody forget that Yoda's still alive? I mean, I guess we can't sense him either, right?
No, he's on Dagobah.
He's hiding for sure.
Yeah, he's definitely hiding.
He's in that dark side.
Yeah, great point.
He should be ashamed of himself. He should be ashamed and hiding.
I love, you mentioned something about like the institution of the Jedi Council, right? And I feel like this is like a meta commentary, because like what's the thing that would turn everybody against the Jedi was if the Sith were like, oh, look at what the Jedi are doing to these kids, and convinced everyone that it was some terrible thing. But the problem is, in my opinion, if you have a galaxy where a lot of force-sensitive beings, come into existence, and it's very frequent, like to the point where there's thousands of them that can congregate. If you don't take these people that are going to have these talents and direct them somewhere, they're just going to show up and cause chaos, because they'll do whatever the hell they want. And we already know that anything that's which is selfishness or giving to get for myself or like conquest, that's the dark side. So unless you do this thing, which is unconscionable, and take them away from their families before they even have a chance to do anything, you wind up with a position where, let's say 90% of them are benign, and you have 50,000 dark force using, emperor of this planet. You couldn't have a galactic society. It would be impossible, because it would be carved up into little pieces like Alexander the Great's empire after he died. So it's like, yeah, you're right. the thing they're doing, which is just taking them and training them in the Force, right, preparing them for a life of sacrifice and altruism, is just the only way they've figured out to keep there from being a Sith Empire every 50 years in a war to the knife with, some dark Force empire. And then as soon as you knock that one down, another one would pop up from a different place in the unknown regions, where all of a sudden this disparate clan of species is united and coming at you like a knife.
Yeah, and
That's called gerrymandering.
Yeah, it's the same thing that's happening with the Jedi too, but the different orders, and they're both cultivating their troops the same way. They're stealing them and brainwashing them. So it's the same thing, except one is promoting the light side of the Force, the other is promoting the dark side of the Force. So ultimately, we have to see who's doing the greater, we'll just say the greater good for the galactic society. Like which one provides the actual peace and sort of prosperity, which one does it better.
Which side should I let control me, this side or that side?
Right, because it's ultimately what benefits you,
what benefits me,
you as a person and your family and your existence. So how are you going to benefit from, okay, you got the Galactic Empire, what are they giving you? They're giving you
freedom.
They're giving you freedom. They're giving you job security. They're giving you a place to exist. They're providing protection, guns and ammo and cool droids and ships and everything. And what are the Jedi doing? Well, they're nothing, because they're all
nothing
and they're all hiding somewhere. They're not really doing anything.
Useless.
They're useless.
They're useless. Feckless bunch of belly button scratchers, those Jedi.
No,
we need a man.
About,
we need to support Chancellor Palpatine for Emperor.
Right, and the Jedi were letting the Empire rule them anyway for generations. There was evil running the good.
Evil running the good. Yeah, that's a great time. Interesting.
There are a lot of interesting parallels, because the politics in Star Wars, everyone talks about the prequel trilogy dismissively, like, oh, it's a political thriller.
Oh, no.
It is. I mean, it's the weirdest thing. And then Padme says, oh, this is how democracy dies to thunderous applause. But it was over way
before that.
She didn't recognize it until it was already done, which, 20 years ago, I would have thought it's ridiculous. And now I'm not as convinced that it's ridiculous, which is probably a commentary on humanity. The other thing is, for some reason, the light side of the Force seems to be this unified, peaceful, galactic society of intelligent species, right? That seems to be what the light side of the Force wants to happen. Well, who says that's actually good for life?
Yeah, who says? Yeah.
So, like, it's interesting, because to say that there's a light side and a dark side to the Force almost requires you to give it this, like, anthropomorphic willpower. Which we see in the wills, and Star Wars talks about this, but I don't know that you need that. I mean, I would assume if we had a lens to any participatory planet where there's intelligent life, so just some planet where there's no connection, like Earth, right, where it's just us, you would imagine there would be this history of Force users just popping up, and every couple generations there would be some new religion that was able to carve some piece of what the Jedi are doing out, just to figure it out and do it for themselves. So there probably is a whole lot of that sort of stuff in the history of all these planets, and it would be a unifying thing. When you make that first contact, they'd be like, how do you deal with the Force users? And you'd have a plan, because you'd have to in order to make it to the level of civilization.
Right, because you couldn't have them take over. You couldn't have them take over everything, because then that's diabolical. That's a dictatorship, because they could conceivably just land on a planet and remove all freedom from it and make the whole entire planet bend to their will, whatever it is. So how do you actually say, well, dark side, light side? All right, maybe it needs to be the gray side. Maybe there needs to be a little bit of both.
Free thinking.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be able to make decisions at the time. Like maybe maybe right now we're going to be light side. We're going to move rocks, like that one guy said. He said,
well, that's the whole purpose of balance and everything. You
Yes.
can't have one side just weigh it, for so long and everything. You got to have that other side to counteract. That's sort of like in today's politics. You have like one side being one way for so long, then the other side comes to counteract that, so that other side doesn't weigh itself so much.
Yep.
On society. To me, they're ideally just here to keep things balanced, not for one side to control over the other and everything. And I think that's what this Star Wars thing brings, the balance to the Force and everything. I mean, this is like the balance that we're seeing when Luke eventually destroys like the Empire and stuff. That's the balance being brought for now that I'm thinking about it, George Lucas was such a genius in bringing those simple concepts to like a entertainment medium and everything. And he allowed everybody to expand stories to
have a voice.
To have a voice. Right, exactly.
Everyone and that's why he built like when he had his idea, he had his story, and he allowed people to build on it. But you had to fit into that timeline. You had to make your stories fit.
Yep.
We lost that, so that was out of balance. Like we lost that, and I think we really lost it with the 7, 8, 9. Really went kind of haywire.
Well,
back.
Yeah.
Well, think about it. The strongest Jedis in history are always the gray Jedis, as we call them, right? The ones that you said had free will, but also understood the dark side. I mean, Qui-Gon, as I said, was probably the most noble Jedi, but they didn't like that because they couldn't control him because he had reasoning. Then we get to other Jedis. We see, we have Luke Skywalker. He wears black. What Jedi wears all black?
No one told him.
He did go evil. I mean, he did go.
He did, though. Look at him when he's slashing him with a saber. I mean, that's full rage. So even he harnessed both sides of it. You see Ahsoka Tano, who was banished, but then you learned that there were other. I mean, all these Jedis that kind of found balance. When you look at even, I guess we can go into Old Republic. Darth Revan, arguably my favorite Jedi and the greatest Jedi, was a Sith brought back to the light side, to the dark, and into the light side again. I mean, these parallels. Look at Dooku. I mean, we still never knew really what his true intentions are, because if we read his true intentions were to kill the Emperor.
Yep.
So was he really a gray Jedi? Yeah. We don't know really what he was. So.
Yeah, because he had the relationships with the different the factions, the Trade Federation and the Bankers Guild and he knew how to manipulate on a political side, because when they were on Geonosis, he had all those guys wrapped around his fingers. Like he had the trade, he had the Bankers Guild, he had the Mining Guild. They were all with him, with the Trade Federation, and then here's the Emperor screwing up the soup by putting too much in. I mean, so ultimately, like you said, T. Mitch, he wanted to just get rid of the Emperor, and he was going to use Anakin and Obi Wan to do that.
Think about it. He was 2 seconds of telling Obi Wan who the Emperor was.
Yes.
Literally, he was right about to do it, and Anakin comes to kill him.
Yep. And
he told Obi Wan the exact truth in Episode 2.
He did.
The Senate is controlled by the Dark Lord of the Sith. Only you and I can stop him. Let's go get him. True. And of course, Dooku would have betrayed the Emperor. That's the whole point. Eventually, that's the whole point of being a Sith apprentice, is so you can kill them and take their power like Highlander, since there could be only one. My interest here is, in retrospect, we have, I think there's a lot to this. This is why the prequel trilogy was not received as well as it was, or as well as maybe I think it should have been now, is because George Lucas wrote a trilogy about failed institutions. About what happens when, institutions start to protect themselves and their members instead of doing their jobs, and what that causes when it happens. You pile one instance on top of another instance on top of another instance. This trilogy, he wrote it in the 1990s, when the institutions were mostly fine in the United States. when the Cold War had ended and capitalism had triumphed, and before the erosion of functionality in the institutions that we've seen. I mean, we are an entire Catholic Church scandal in Boston, an entire the Southern Baptist Conference scandal, an entire USA Gymnastics scandal ahead of that. Right, we're on the far side of that, and I think when I look back at the prequels, I see more the crumbling institutions. I understand why can't the Jedi just go kill the Sith? They are not capable of doing it historically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so interesting how you read about in different points in history. It's easy to be judgmental and say, oh, they just should have done this, but there's Cassandras everywhere saying that these things should happen. But societies are only capable of doing the things they're capable of doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he followed that logical. Well, he sort of backfilled everything when he did like 4, 5, and 6. First telling that sense of hope. The one. The savior of the galaxy. Now I'm going to tell the story of how the dark side.
How we needed that. How we needed the hope.
Yeah. How everything built up to that hope and everything. So I mean, it's great fortitude. It's just brilliance, on his part and everything to tell a simplified story of 4, 5, and 6, and then go back and tell a more complex, breakdown. I mean, we're not going to talk about dialogue and everything, but tell more of a complex situation where not everybody appreciated back then, because of course you were in a different type of headspace. Now you can look back and say, okay, he might have been ahead of his time at that point.
Well, I think that Qui-Gon dying instead of taking Anakin away from the council and training him himself is what he said he was going to do is a huge turning point. Because you would imagine, my thinking here is that if Qui-Gon takes Anakin and leaves Obi-Wan to the institutional Jedi and leaves with him, that the Emperor is not going to be able to turn him. Because Anakin is not going to be a part of the Clone Wars. Anakin is not going to be obligated to follow the Chancellor's bidding. Anakin's not going to have to follow those orders, and so he'll have an outsider's perspective. And I think that's why Qui-Gon has to die in that movie, and why it's so important that you see that character come to its, a three-dimensional realization in that movie. Because he can teach Obi-Wan to disappear. From the he's a great teacher.
I've always thought about that, and we've said that what if, like if Obi-Wan or if Qui-Gon survives that, I feel that him and Anakin go and Obi-Wan falls to the dark side eventually. And that's the real story.
That's interesting.
Because think about it, because he just says that basically your master, because this is a teenage Obi-Wan who is basically thrown to the side. His master abandons him. Because Qui-Gon is then pushed out of the council at that point, right? You can't have two. So they're going to push him out of the council because he wasn't ready to take the trials.
Different from the Sith with the rule of two, huh?
It is. It's the same. So you can't have two Padawans. So he would have been disbanded from the council to train him on his own, kind of like Ahsoka, which he was already a great Jedi because him and Yoda already butted heads about a lot of stuff. Yeah. So he would have been trained him on his own. Then it would have been, Obi-Wan going through this whole galactic, and just think about it. With Padme, I mean, it could have followed the same path. He would have failed for Padme, same story. But Anakin's a hero. I think it would have been a lot more. It would have made this a lot longer if they did it that way. And end up making Kenobi kind of like the bad guy at the end.
See that what if? Marvel is giving me Disney, and it's all Disney. So Disney's other division, Marvel, is giving me lots of
that would be a sweet way to spin it. Yeah, to spin it that way. Yeah, I'd like to see them with the Star Wars visions. I'd like to see a Star Wars what if.
Star Wars what if Anakin just beats Obi-Wan? Anakin doesn't jump. I want to see all that stuff because you could all of the stories would be interesting because it's been so locked in for so long.
All right. But yeah, guys, before we finish up, I mean, just real quick, what are your thoughts? I mean, we have arguably an hour and a half left, 2 episodes. I mean, just like we've just said recently with Boba Fett, and I mean, really the show fell flat if you look at the reviews and what everybody thinks. I mean, we don't have a lot of time to answer a lot of questions and to tie a lot of things up. I mean, DP, I'll start with you. Like, what are you thinking? I mean, we don't got a lot of time.
The simplest thing that you could say with the plot is that the rescue of Leia. That's it. I mean, she got kidnapped, so she needs to be rescued. As far as all the peripheral stuff, the battle between him and Vader, battle between him and Reva, that's peripheral stuff. It's all about telling the story of Leia gets kidnapped and then gets rescued at the end. That's it. What I'm hoping to see, of course, is like the battle and something more. That they'll go into that with the Jedi's in the tomb and some other things that it's a Grand Inquisitor still alive and everything. They don't have a lot of plot. They don't have a lot of episodes to do all that. So we just need to deal, like I said in the previous episode. You got Reva, Leia, Obi-Wan, and Darth Vader. So what are you going to do with these characters and stuff? How are we going to end it with those four?
Yeah.
We got Ice Cube Jr. too.
Yeah, Ice Cube Jr.'s on the screen. I'm like, oh wow, he's in this. This is funny.
What about you, Hitch?
I agree. Well, oh yeah, good. So
we got to end with Ben Kenobi.
yeah,
I'll go next. So here's what I want to see. I want to see them set up. I want to see two things. I want to feel recontextualized about the relationship between Leia and Obi-Wan at the end of this, through the plot mechanism of her getting saved or her doing. I want to feel deeper about the fact that they didn't really talk in episode 4. I want to feel that miss. And if they at the end of this season have me thinking about how they didn't even get to see each other and how that was a real like tragic thing, then I think that this will be a huge success.
What about you?
So, yes, it's all about Leia and Obi-Wan saving Leia and bringing Leia back, and the bond between Leia and Ben Kenobi. So, a lot of things I'm seeing here. I know that that's all going to happen. Leia's going to get reunited with Bail Organa. It's going to be due to Obi-Wan's relentless efforts to not only become General Kenobi again, but also just build that relationship with Leia. And I think the end scene of this episode that we're talking about, where they're holding hands and sort of bonding, I think that struck a chord with Leia, because maybe 2 decades from now, what does she do? She names her first or second born son Ben, and Ben Solo becomes a agent of the dark side of the Force, which we've been talking about. With maybe that's not such a bad thing, but I think that this is an important episode, because now we understand why Leia and Han had a son named Ben, because Leia wanted to basically honor her savior with a namesake, with her son.
I can dig it.
Ben Solo. So that kind of made sense to me. I think we're going to see a showdown between Reva and Kenobi. I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to find out why she hates him so much, what that motivation is. Vader's going to sit back and watch this whole thing happen, and I don't think he's going to mind so much when she's dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I echo that as well. I mean, I guess my final thought is, I was a little disturbed at the end when she showed her lightsaber proficiency against a ship with blasters. I thought that was
a T-47.
Yeah, I mean, come on, the way she's like blocking those, like they can shoot faster. I was kind of like, I mean, I've seen Jedi get hacked down from, and
is nitpicky boy.
It was a little bit, things like that. It's just the details, especially when, like I said, you leave me with 2 episodes left. We got a lot to do. Yeah. She's out here, so she can do that. And then she didn't hack down the snitch, right? You get hacked immediately. Like, that's treason. You're dead. So we'll save that for next week, because that we didn't discuss it today, but that's something that I was like, you didn't probe her mind. You didn't do anything. You just trusted her all of a sudden. Really?
Having her survive this was very, very similar to me to like how that Wookiee survived Boba Fett. Like, they didn't bring her on. They didn't make that Wookiee use it once. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
They didn't wrap her on here to use that once. She's gonna be on for a while.
Yeah, but yeah, guys, it looks like we wrap up another episode. And real quick before we get off here, DP, just want to give another plug out to NCFS for everybody who they don't know or follows that. So give us a real quick plug to follow everybody and make sure we're reviewing that as well.
Nerds, talk about The Boys. We're talking about The Boys. It comes on Friday, but we'll be talking about it on Mondays. Okay. All right. So we're talking about The Boys. Already got the first 3 episodes out the way. So make sure that you're going to the replay, listen to our podcast as far as that. It was a great one. And then catch us live next Monday night, 10 o'clock. You guys are welcome to, join us and come chat if you're watching it. And we love to get your input as well, about The Boys. Make sure, of course, you're going to nerdcyclopedia.com and, seeing all our content and everything there. It's a beautiful thing just being a nerd, in this content. Oh, if you're watching, quick plug to Mrs. Marvel, much better than I expected. Woo.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's more content. Yeah, that's more content we have to get to, which debuted last night as well today. So, yeah, guys, keep your eyes peeled. Hopefully, we can get a couple to watch that, and we'll review that with you guys as well as it ties into all things Marvel. But yeah, guys, like DP has told you, keep your eyes peeled on all our socials. We'll let you guys know when we're live again. But until next week, this is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.